So, with my experiences, it's highlighted a lot of failings and misconceptions relating to anxiety, panic, and depression, both at work and also in the way that mental health is dealt with in the legal system. I'm, like I said, going through an employment tribunal with Hamptons. I've been through pretty much all of the processes, so going to the doctors and doing internal grievances and going to ACAS and now dealing with tribunal judges and lawyers and everything like that. I mean, probably what's causing my anxiety even worse, but each step of the way there's been some great people that have helped, but then there's a lot of barriers there that really stopped me finding the help that I really needed. There's some great work being done out there, some brilliant organisations, Mind, charities like that, Anxiety UK. So there's a lot being done now that you can see. There's a lot more in the news about mental health, anxiety, especially with the troops with PTSD. So it's being highlighted a lot more, which is great, because it is a big problem. It really is. At the moment, though, it seems, especially with companies, I think there's a lot more that they can do and that can be done. At the moment, it seems that most companies like to try and sweep mental health under the carpet. They hope that people will just get fed up with where they're working, they'll leave, go and find another job, and then actually if the same thing happens, it's the new company's problem. The old company, there's no go back to them. It's gone. They've dusted their hands of it. So this is where Kim and I have decided we want to start a campaign called Body at Work. The aim is to make companies more responsible for health and well-being of their employees, and especially with a focus on the mental health. Whilst putting my employment tribunal case together, we found that Hamptons International do not have any policies on how to deal with mental health issues in the workplace. From what I could see, there was one paragraph in their health and safety policy that mentioned stress at work. Just one paragraph, and to me that's not enough. Yes, they have helplines and things like that you can call, but the managers, the HR, they've got all of these people in these companies, and there's nothing telling anyone how to deal with stress, mental health issues, panic, anxiety. These words are never mentioned. As I said, the only word mentioned is stress, and that's something that needs to change. Now, I'm not saying Hamptons are the only company that do this. I know, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other companies out there as well. This mental health is a taboo subject wherever you go. So I don't want you to get us wrong. This is not a crusade against companies. It's not what we're about. What we want to actually do is help companies and their employees. It's not rocket science that a healthy employee will benefit the company. It's common sense. If your workforce are stressed, they're not going to give the service that you want them to give. I found during some investigations, I found some really interesting statistics from the Health and Safety Executive. They did a report back in 2014, 2015, which highlights the extent of the problem with ill health, injury at work. Here's those stats on some slides for you. as you can see, these stats really emphasize why this is so important to companies to address these issues, especially around mental health. I feel that if companies invested more time and money in health and well-being and take some of the stress off their employees, and the statistics could be reduced dramatically. I think there's too much push on employees to be, for companies to get so much out of their employees. They've got to have them working every hour of the day without taking breaks, eating lunch at the desks. All of these things need to stop, because all you're doing is just harming your employees, and actually in the long term harming your business, because all you've got is knackered employees who then get fed up, leave, you get staff turnover, and then your clients will be getting frustrated. One thing I learned was when property managers kept changing, then landlords and tenants used to get stressed and annoyed because they didn't know who, the person they were talking to would change every couple of weeks, and that then has a negative effect on your business. There's so much that companies can do. And to give you a couple of ideas that I thought of, making sure your employees take a lunch break, but take an hour's lunch break. Get away from their desk. It's so important to, so people just don't do that. It's a culture in companies that if you go for a lunch break, you're some kind of devil person, you're not working hard enough or something like that, and it's just absolutely bonkers. You need a break, you need to eat well, and it's one of the most simple things that your company can do. Managers should say, right, you need your break, get out now, but nobody does that. There's hundreds of local health professionals and therapists out there in all areas of the country. I know where we live, Chiswick alone, there's plenty. So companies could work with these therapists. Okay, yes, there's a cost involved, but what we want to try and do is somehow, as we said, if companies invested more in the health and well-being, then it will help the productivity of the company. But there could be other ways of doing it. Maybe the employees could chip in a little bit of the cost. Could the government subsidise some of the therapists so that they can offer them at cheaper rates? There's got to be things that can be done to help these therapists, because they're all small business owners, but also then help the big businesses and their employees. I think there could be a lot of shift to looking at mindfulness in companies, basically just to reduce stress levels. There's an interesting article I saw on Facebook where schools, instead of using detention, were using, putting kids through mindfulness to try and calm them down, and then they understood their disruptive behaviour, the damage it was having to them and to the school. So, have chill out spaces, do yoga, things like that. Again, just try and keep those stress levels of your employees down. These are human beings we're talking about, and just to sort of create a culture of, you've got to be tough, you've got to work hard and long hours and then you'll be successful, has to stop, because this is people's long-term health. Short-term, fine, people can probably deal with it, but it's long-term that we need to look at. Got to make sure as well, I think employees are too reliant on sugar, caffeine, alcohol to keep going. That's a big thing. I'm tired, I'll go and get a Red Bull and have a boost or have a coffee, and you get a caffeine hit. But again, I won't go into all the science of that because I don't fully understand it myself, but it's all about, the peaking the sugar levels at different times, and it whacks your body out of sync completely. Again, it's something Kim, I know, wants to do blogs on, and we have a nutritionist, Prabha, who's been helping us as well. So we'll put all of that information out there for you as well. I think encouraging exercise is a big thing as well. I know some people are into exercise more than others. Every company does the gym membership, special reduction, but again, it's still quite expensive for people, and some people just don't like going to the gym. But again, there's things that companies can do. Exercises at your desk that you can do if you're stuck in front of a computer all the time. So just getting people moving, it's so important. Flexible working, some companies introduce it, starting at different times, so you're not on the crammed trains and tubes or buses or stuck in traffic jams. Just companies, I think, need to be a little bit more open-minded as to how they're running their business. Some companies do unlimited holidays. You've got a quiet period. It's quite a controversial thing. And your logical brain says, people will just take the mickey and take holidays left, right and centre. But if it's managed properly, I believe there are companies out there that do that. So again, that could be something. One that I sort of love is extra duvet days. Just maybe 12 duvet days a year, so 1 day a month. It's not taken out of people's holiday. They can just, bit of prior notice, not just phone up on the morning and say, I'm taking my duvet day this morning, but it just gives staff that extra day where they can just say, I don't have to do anything. I'm not losing holiday days. I can actually just stop and relax. And lastly, with my ideas, I think probably the biggest thing is when your staff are sick, make them stay at home. Everyone drags themselves in when they're unwell, and they're suffering with coughs and colds and just spreading germs around, so then the whole office gets ill. 2 days off in bed and they'll probably start feeling a lot better, and take away that stress of, you're sick, you've just caused me a huge problem now because we've got to cover your work and stuff. It's about making your employees feel valued and help, and that they're being taken care of, that you actually care about your employees. So many companies on their website state, we love and care for our employees, but when it comes to the crunch, a lot of people don't. So that's a few ideas. There's probably loads more out there that people can think of as well. You have to look at it sensibly as well. Some jobs are just more stressful than others, and there's absolutely nothing a company can do about that. As I said, customer service things, nurses, doctors, firemen, all of those, they're stressful jobs. The nature of the job can't change. But what that does mean is that company, if they know a job is stressful, should do even more to help their employees. It's not enough for them just to say, it's a stressful job. When you started, it's a stressful job, so just suck it up, mate, and deal with it. If you can't do it, go and find a job that's easier. It's not what should happen. They should have extra things in place so that people can do the job and also have the support and help that they need. Okay, I think we've picked on the companies enough for the moment. You, as an individual, can make a difference, and you also have a responsibility to yourselves as well. Again, as I said, this is your health that we're talking about. We want people are living longer. You want to be healthy. They're saying now that there's a reliance on antibiotics and things like that. So if you act sooner, then you can also avoid some of the dread diseases, cancers and things like that, by just pushing yourselves at an early age or middle age, whatever age. It's not good. You've got to take responsibility for your own life as well. And also taking time off. As you saw from the stats, the biggest cost comes to you as an individual. If you take long-term sickness off, there'll be a period where you're not going to get paid, or you get paid less. So, if you can reduce that, not saying you're never going to be ill, but if you can reduce the long-term illness, then that will really help you. So, as I said, the main thing that you need to do if you are struggling is speak up. Don't suffer in silence, and don't just move jobs for the sake of it, because that isn't an answer. All that's going to do is bring different stresses, going to interviews, then changing jobs, learning a new role, finding new people that you're working with, understanding them and the processes. So at the very beginning, if you are struggling and you tell your company that you're struggling with stress and the workload isn't doable, then they have to make reasonable adjustments. Okay? Now, that phrase, reasonable adjustments, is a little bit grey, I think. I think it could do with being a lot more clearer, but the company does have to do something to help you. And in all fairness to the company, if you keep quiet and don't say anything, then they can't help, they can't do anything. We won't go too deep into the whole Body at Work campaign at the moment, but we will include some of the following. If you've worked for a company, or you are working for a company that is brilliant at looking after the well-being and health of their employees, let us know. We would love to contact that company and find out how they do it, what they're doing, and also the effect that it has on their employees and the business. Our email address is at the end of the video. I'm also going to share some of the information about some of the treatments and books that we found and that I'm using. Some I haven't used yet, but we'll keep you up to date with different treatments, how things go. As I said, there's loads out there, different things will work for different people. So we want to give you as much information, and then you can make an informed choice on what you want to use. We're going to petition the government to make tougher regulations for companies to follow, especially where that mental health and the well-being is concerned. Make companies come into line with strict rules. We'll also probably doing some more shorter video diaries as we go along. It won't be as long as this one, which we'll post on Dream On Foundation Facebook page. And likewise, if you'd like to contribute to the campaign, whether it's sharing your experiences with a blog, or like I said, if there's of an organisation that would want to work with us, let us know. We want it to be inclusive of as many people as we possibly can. So I think that's just about it for now. So thank you ever so much for watching and listening. And I'll just leave you with one little thing, just to try and pace down a bit. Okay, remember to breathe. Take deep breaths, and make sure that you take time to enjoy and appreciate the little things in life. Okay, not just the big things. When you go for a walk, take time to look around and see if there's birds or little things on buildings that you've never noticed before. So just really slow that pace down, try and reduce those stresses, and take time to relax. So cheers, keep well, and